Chapter 19. In the time that it took Augie to walk Turk around the block, Donica and Brad had come up with a plan for how to make Augie Augier. Brad made several phone calls, then drove off in a hurry. 2 minutes later, Donica took off on her bicycle in the opposite direction. "Where is everybody?" Augie wondered aloud when he and Turk got back. Thump, thump, thump. Augie heard a strange sound outside. "Hey, Augie!" someone called. Augie ran to the window and looked out. David Corbin was standing in the driveway bouncing his basketball. Thump, thump, thump. "Hi, David," said Augie as he came outside and stood on the porch. "What's up?" "I just saw old Bossy Face ride off on her bicycle, so I figured maybe this would be a good time to come over and see if you want to play some b-ball." "You mean now?" asked Augie. "With you?" "Sure, why not?" David said. "I can't. I have to practice my charving. Donica says my Ulysses S. Grant looks too much like Santa Claus." "Oh, come on," said David. "The guys are all over at the courts by the school waiting. We really want you to play with us." "But Donica says—" "Who cares what she says?" interrupted David. "You can't spend all your time charving, can you? Besides, if you hang around with Cheese too much, you might turn into a mouse or something." Augie laughed. "Well, maybe I could play for a little while," he said. His whole life, Augie had always been the last one picked when teams were chosen for sports. But that day on the basketball court, David Corbin won the coin toss, which meant he got first pick. He didn't even hesitate. "I want Augie." Augie grinned so hard his face hurt, and during the game, when he dribbled the ball out of bounds or missed a basket, instead of laughing at him and calling him names, the boys gave him pointers. "Step into it when you pass. Bend your knees before you shoot. Take your time, Cooter." Augie listened to everything they said, and he concentrated on playing basketball just the way he concentrated when he was charving Cheese. Finally, it paid off, and he made a basket. In fact, he made 3. "That was really fun," Augie told the guys as they took turns at the drinking fountain after the game. "Thanks for helping me." "No problem," said David, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. "It's not every day we get to play with somebody famous like you." Augie blushed and grinned. Maybe this whole celebrity thing wasn't so bad. After all, he'd never been invited to play basketball before. "Hey, Augie," said one of the guys, "since you're the pro, how about you giving us some charving lessons?" "Sure," said Augie. "Over my dead body." Nobody had noticed Donica's arrival. She'd been riding by the school on her way home and had noticed Augie on the basketball court. She was furious. "How dare you!" she shouted. "What's the big deal, Donica?" said David. "He was just playing a little b-ball, and you know something? He's not half bad." Augie started to prip from the compliment, but the look on Donica's face stopped him cold. "We're going," Donica said, grabbing Augie's arm and pulling him off the court. "Brad is probably already there waiting with the new cheese." Augie reluctantly waved goodbye to the guys. Donica got back on her bike and told Augie to run along beside her. "How come Brad went to get more cheese?" Augie asked, doing his best to keep up with Donica. "I told you my mom bought a whole bunch yesterday." "That cheese is no good anymore," said Donica. "We have to go bigger." "Bigger?" said Augie. He winced as his stomach pinched. Donica hit a bump in the road and put her hand out to steady the small cardboard box sitting in the basket attached to her handlebars. "What's in there?" Augie asked. "That's for me to know and you to find out," Donica answered mysteriously. Brad was waiting on the steps when Augie and Donica arrived back at the Cooter's house. "Did you get the cheese?" Donica asked him. Brad nodded. "It's in the trunk. How about you? Did you find what you were looking for?" Donica carefully lifted the box out of her bike basket. "It's perfect," she said. "Wait till you see." Augie opened the front door and let them in. Donica carried the box inside and set it down on the floor. Augie wasn't sure, but he thought he saw it move. Then he heard a strange whining sound. So did Turk, and the fur on the back of his neck stood up as he growled. "What's in there?" Augie asked again. Donica opened the box, reached in, and pulled out a small, strange-looking creature with a pointy face like a rat and bumpy, grayish-purple skin. The only fur on its body was a ratty pom-pom on the end of its tail and a tangle of white hair sprouting up from between its ears like a bad toupee. "What is that?" gasped Auggie in horror. "Auggie," said Donica, scooping up the hideous creature and holding it out to him, "say hello to your new dog."